Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davison. You're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back to the basics. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocketjack Comics, who have books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily, and they are currently being distributed through Filbo Distribution, so you can get their books there. Really fun books. Preston's actually coming on tomorrow at 10 o'clock, so we're going to have a good conversation talking about movies and some other stuff he's done. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator and artist Scott James. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on because you got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, you got a Kickstarter going on, which is Icelander and Plasma Volume 1, Relic of the Eternal Kings on Kickstarter. And we're going to get into that. And you got some other stuff that you've done as well that we're probably going to talk about. But why don't you quickly introduce who you are? Because you've been doing comics, I think, for at least 15 plus years at this point. Something around that, hopefully maybe some more.
Yeah. Obviously, you said my name's Scott James. I've been working as a professional illustrator since 1995. I started out doing RPG and CCG work for tons of gaming companies. I've done Dungeons and Dragons. I've done Shadowrun, BattleTech, all of that stuff, Mutants and Masterminds. I've always had a passion for comics, and I segued into doing some comic work for, I've done for Image, I've done ad stuff for Marvel, for their UK stuff. I've done stuff for Marcosia, Source Point Press. So I've been around.
Yeah, I mean, you've done stuff. I think you worked on Savage Dragon, which I think that's Eric Larson, right?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate enough to be able to play in his sandbox. I met him many moons ago at the Motor City Comic Con, and I showed him my stuff, and it started out with him offering me the opportunity to do a pinup for him in issue 66, I think. And I proceeded to draw the shittiest. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that you want.
I drew the shittiest Savage Dragon probably known to man. I mean, I totally got. There's always a running joke, oh, you got the fin wrong. Well, I legitimately got the fin wrong. So I thought I was dead in the water after that, but I kept talking with Eric, and he was very gracious and gave me an opportunity doing a backup. Which led to another backup, which led to another backup, and another backup, and another backup. And then I've done a cover for him for issue 266, which was a kind of not a naughty cover, but it was with Maxine. They were on the beach, and Malcolm was running to her with a towel as she was about ready to pull open her bikini top. And he's like, "What, Maxine, what are you doing?" And she says, "I'm trying to sell books for you." A little joke, and that was well received. And I've just been fortunate enough, like I said, to do a good handful of backups for Eric. And I've done some work with Dirk Manning, who is just a great guy. I thoroughly enjoyed.
Butts in seats, the Tony.
And I think I got to draw the best chapter of the book, because I got to draw Hulk Hogan versus Sting in that match and the end of WCW. So, I mean, I got to draw Hogan and Sting, and Macho Man. So it was fun.
And then obviously, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the short version of your career, because I want to get into really talking about what you got going on Kickstarter right now, which is, I lost my train of thought, everybody, which is, Icelander and Plasma Volume 1.
Yep, it's the collected of 3 issues.
So what is the basic premise? Because there's people who obviously know your work and the collective of it, and they're going to be hearing the spiel again in the umbrella pitch or the elevator pitch. But then there's a bunch of people who have no idea what this is, and they're coming in.
Icelander and Plasma is a spinoff of Juice Man, my creator-owned book. He was a character that a lot of the fans seemed to really like, because he was very Nordic and as he calls his queen, Plasma, they run side by side, and it just, people were asking, well, when are you going to do an Icelander book? When are you going to do an Icelander book? And I finally was like, you know what? I don't have time to draw it, but I can write it. And I've been very blessed with working with other artists, other than just colorists and other cover artists that I brought in to do special variant covers. But I sat down and I was like, well, he almost needs a redemption arc. And I mean, he started out as a heavy for one of the bad guys in the Juice Man books, and I was like, there's more to him than that. Yeah, he's power hungry. Yes, he likes to blur the lines between right and wrong, whichever gets him the prize he wants. Very, very Viking-esque. But in this tome, it's basically his journey of his quest for power, and when does that quest become too much, and when do you give up your humanity for godhood, and what would make you decide not to take that step? And for him, it was the love of Plasma. So it's, and at the end, he's deciding that he wants to walk as best as he can a more righteous path and not be the heavy to somebody who is as nefarious as Darkleage. So
let's get into this a little bit, because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a quest for power. You described a lot of stuff there, and
yes.
Then the other thing that I think is interesting, before we even get even further into the book, is that obviously this is a spin-off of another one of your books, and I don't want to say it's a side quest book, right? Because it's its own thing, but it's spun out of another book, right? And so what is that like? Because it's in the same world in a lot of ways, so you can't break rules of an already existing world in this book, and there are consequences per se. I'm assuming there's consequences on what happens in this book that affects Juice Man's book in that universe. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you can play with, but it also gives more lore to the fans who like that book. Like, I don't know how to.
It's world building, so it's expanding the world, and it takes place in Scandinavia. It takes place in Nepal, so it's removed from. They're on a quest for the relic of the Eternal Kings and the Axe of Ragnarok, and it takes them on this journey, and it takes them out of Chicago, the setting of Juice Man, so that they exit, and then by the end of this quest, they're a little homesick. They're going to be making their way back to Chicago, and we'll see how that demographic changes him as a person. And there's obviously going to be repercussions for trying to leave being a heavy, for an ultimate bad guy. So what are those repercussions? What are the repercussions of, okay, yeah, you've done some shady stuff, and now you're wanting to walk a little bit more of a righteous path. How are you going to atone for what you've done in the past? So those are things that are going to be coming, as I move into the next story arc of Juice Man.
Because the reason why I bring this up is that once you have an already existing title, there's only so many. You can't all of a sudden blow up Earth if you have an already existing title. And so there are parameters that have to be set.
Yes.
Like, there's also other things you can do, because characters that then get a spin-off, or if they're fighting in another country or another continent, obviously the issues of Chicago or wherever else is taking place are no longer present as a threat. And so that's why I bring this up, because it's very complicated when you start having, it's kind of like if Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern were all in the same city. It's so complicated But when Batman's in
You're going to
Gotham,
have that blend because they're all going to be aware of what's transpiring. If they're all in Metropolis when that happens, yeah, or if they're all in Chicago. This is why I was like, okay, let me take this more of a North mythology, dealing more with the gods and a council of gods and otherworldly beings. So it gave me an opportunity to play with things that I couldn't play with per se with Juice Man because his story is so different and his background is so different.
and then to go even further into that, because you mentioned something that I think is also interesting, is that once you take out, you spin off, and then these characters who were secondary characters or made appearances and they have their own book, we get to learn and know about these characters. And we really get to experience who they are and what they are and what they stand for, more so than if they're, a sidekick or a side character and they become the main character or they get elevated essentially.
They
And I don't
become more three-dimensional instead of one or two-dimensional. You're able to really flesh them out instead of like, oh, it's the bad guy of the week. And then with a superhero book, you can get into that. Oh, it's this week, very sitcom-y, oh, this week he's going to battle this guy, or this week, this guy, yeah, you're building a rogues gallery, but you're not defining them as characters.
No, because it's so interesting, right? I find it so interesting when you start adding another layer and you start adding spin-offs and you start building out a universe. Because again, as somebody who likes a lot of characters and a lot of spin-off stuff, it's fun when we get to highlight characters and we have a big ensemble. I personally love it, especially if you're into a series, right? Because I always want more of something. I don't know how to explain that, right? So like Law and Order is a good example. I always want more. So when they do Law and Order, then they do Criminal Intent, then they do SVU, it's fun because you're getting more of this expanded universe relatively in New York, And so now you're getting a bigger and bigger and bigger picture, and I have so much content to consume, and consuming content, I don't know how to explain it, but like it's easy to consume content now.
Yeah. And with Icelander and Plasma showing up in the first volume of Juice Man and the second volume of Juice Man, it brought that familiarity of the character to the fans. And then the fans were wanting more information about these characters and when are they going to have their own. So it was okay. Let me take the leap of faith and let me put together this story and put together a creative team, and let's see how 3 issues go. And the individual issues sold really well. So we did 3 individual issues on Kickstarter, and right now we've got the collected on Kickstarter for pre-order because Marcosia is the publisher of anything that I do collected. They've collected the Juice Man, and you can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. So they're interested in collecting all of the individual, doing the collected, but they're not interested in doing the individual floppies.
So I want to talk about this, in which that obviously let's actually talk about that, because there is a real, I guess, trend with publishers where they don't necessarily want to deal with floppies. Not to put Source Point on, blast here, and I don't think, hopefully I'm not doing it, but I don't think Source Point, from my understanding, because I've had a few friends where they wanted a collective edition, they don't want to deal with the floppies. Because
floppies are a harder sell. Floppies are a harder sell for publishers, especially small independent publishers. Where it's easy to put a trade, and I can put a trade in the Barnes and Noble. I could put it on Amazon. I can put the marketability of a trade is greater than a floppy. The problem for me is I need to create the floppy.
I want to get into this because this is so interesting, right? Because my understanding is that, and I'm not a comic guy, right? So I haven't done a comic, is that they want collective editions because it's a Barnes and Noble play, it's bookstores, comic shops, and it's easier to deal with that. And it's also easier to put a barcode on it and it's done, right? But like you as a creator, and this is the problem, is that I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take an estimate here to do 120 page, graphic novel. It's going to run you like 12K to 15K, give or take around that number. And I don't know who here has 15K lying around, but 15K is a big ask for somebody to throw something out there all at once. If you're doing it in piecemeal, it's still a lot of money, but it doesn't hit you as hard because you can do it every 6 months.
And I'm not paying Icelander and Plasma aside. For Juice Man, I'm writing it, I'm penciling it, I'm inking it. I'm subcontracting out the colors and the lettering, and I pay all out of pocket on that. So the Kickstarters for the floppies, I'm not really paying myself. I'm producing the product, paying the letterer and the colorist, and then putting anything above the publishing, what I'm asking for, as a goal, anything above, I put into the next book, into the next book, into the next book, so that I can get to this. So,
because the reason why I bring it up is that 15K is a lot of money, but if you're doing 15K over 2 years, it's not as bad as if you have to do it all in one shot. And that's assuming you're just the writer, you're just the artist, and you have to hire somebody to help you navigate the system or provide a skill you don't have. But that if you're doing it all yourself, that helps tremendously, because if you're the writer and the artist, that changes the whole game completely, because it becomes massively cheaper at that point. I don't know what you would charge as an artist per page, but I'm not asking you to, and you don't have to answer that question. You get
I'm basically working for my passion for free, but it's my IP. So I'm working to build my own sandbox, my own toys to play with, and hopefully toys that other people enjoy,
So the point I'm making is that, I do all my editing on my podcast. I do all the marketing. I have no hiring of people, right? But I know what I would charge if I was to build somebody's podcast and edit their podcast, right? So like, I have an idea of what I think I'm worth per hour on an editing level. I would charge about $30 to edit somebody's podcast and cut up the micro content, build all the micro components for it per episode. So when I'm doing it for my own thing, it's free per se, or I'm doing it because I want to do it and it's my business. And, at that point I have an equity stake in it, right? So equity versus
exactly.
But I do know that it's worth money, if that makes any sense, right? So I don't just simply discount saying, oh, it's my project, and so edits are free. No. Edits cost money, but I take equity in my project versus a payment, and anything that gets raised on an ad revenue is mine, and it's a back payment versus a front payment. And the reason why I find it so interesting, though, is that it's the idea, though, that you're getting to the floppy, because it then becomes your publisher's problem to market the book, and it's their position to print it and get it into the Barnes and Noble, because you're not making the phone call at that point to get it into Barnes and Noble, to get it onto Amazon. They're making that phone call, and they're pushing it into bigger box retail, for lack of a better word.
The publishers have, the entertainment lawyers and the entertainment managers, which hopefully are getting it in front of, the powers that be at Amazon Prime or at Netflix. And, your hope is to, okay, well, eventually sell one of the IPs or license one of the IPs for a show or a toy line or, cartoon, something, that's, I think every creator's goal is to be able to say, hey, I'm going to be on Netflix, or my show is going to be like Invincible on Amazon, So
no, because I find it so fascinating, right? Because I think that it's so interesting in which that how you set up your business and how you deal with it and how you get into it and where you go with it. Because floppies are one thing, but then what happens after Kickstarter, because I think that this is where I find, after speaking to probably about 1,200 people, not just, comic people, but a lot of comic people, probably about 400 to 500. There's always the question I have is that what happens after Kickstarter? Because I think Kickstarter is just, the point is that it's supposed to kickstart the project, and it's supposed to be almost a first round or a pre-seed round, essentially, is how I do Kickstarter. And then what happens after the Kickstarter? And so that's what's so interesting, is about the whole thing about funding the graphic novel, and then it goes to the publisher, and then that's the next stage. So I find it fascinating.
Well, and then what's nice is then I can offer the collected, like when I did the Kickstarter for Juice Man Volume 2, I was able to offer the collected at a discount buying it from me. And it's nice then, because I'm making those sales, and that's it's nice having that connection with the fans. It's almost like being at a show selling the books, but not being at the show. You're running a 30-day show saying, hey, here, look, you can buy it signed from me for X amount of dollars, and offer these rewards and these extras, and, show how much you love this property by what you offer with your rewards. And I always tend to throw little bits of extra goodies in, just as a thank you, because it's nice that, people, and I've actually had people say, I couldn't back you on Kickstarter, but I've had 4 or 5 people send me on Facebook Messenger the collected of Juice Man Volume 2 that, hey, because of tariffs, I couldn't back it on Kickstarter, but I'm showing my support. I got it off Amazon. So it's nice having those other avenues as well with the collected.
It's interesting, right? Because I sell on eBay, right? And so I don't want to ever ship anything from the post office personally to Australia, but through eBay, they have an international shipping program, and it allows me to ship all over the world, and they handle all that shipping components. And so it's nice when, because if somebody's buying it off of Amazon and they're in the UK, Amazon's handling that international shipping for you, versus you having to handle it, which is a disaster on Kickstarter, because you could overshoot or undershoot, or things.
I've done both. I've done both, because it is you don't know until you bring in your package. You can guesstimate, okay, I've put $35 for, shipping to Canada, or shipping to Germany, $35, and it's been $50. And I'm like, oh, well, you don't know. And that's the hard part. When it's domestic, it's easy to go, okay, I can do, I can figure in what it's going to cost me for my cardboard boxes, the mailer boxes, the bags and boards. I figure in, time it takes to hand package everything, because I'm a one-man show. I do it all myself. There's some people that have got a team that do all the packaging and shipping out. It's just me. So I usually do it in waves of 3. But it's shipping is always interesting in the aspect of it's always changing, and postage prices continue to go up. They never go down.
I was on eBay, and I've been on eBay for a while. And what happened is that it used to be 64 cents to ship a card. So that's a lot of cards. Then it became 69 cents. Then it became 74 cents. Now you might say, oh, that's not that bad of a deal, going up by 10 cents. Sell 1,000 cards, and you tell me that 10 cents adds up very quickly. Very quickly. That's $100. And I'll go even further here. Here's the other thing, is that to be competitive, everybody has free shipping. So every 5 cents or every 10 cents comes at a profit, because everybody is in the same position where they're offering free shipping on cards that are under $20 worth, because there's no getting around the problem. So that 10 cents cuts into margins, and it takes down your margin by 0.5% when you're selling a $8, $9 card, there's not much margin. And that's the problem when shipping prices are going up. And I think they're going up again.
Oh,
And
they just did. Yeah. And
so there you go.
And you've got to also figure in your materials. A lot of people don't figure in what they spend on their materials. You're saying cards, you got top loaders and the sleeves and top loaders aren't free. Same thing with bags and boards and those cardboard, whatever the package, the cardboard mailers. It all adds up. Tape, all of it.
My tape bill last year, I don't know what your tape bill was last year, but my tape bill was probably maybe 600. I mean, I had a rough year last year, so I made about 20% less sales, but it was still $600. So,
but also I've tried to go, okay, well, I'll go with the cheaper tape, and then I've had it to where it doesn't stick to the cardboard mailers. And it's like, okay, I just spent this money on this tape that is garbage because, so then it's like, okay, you gotta splurge. There's certain things that you can't go cheap on, and tape isn't one of them, because the last thing you want to do is have a package open in mid transit and have stuff fall out.
I use, I buy bulk. I buy in bulk. All my top loaders, all my sleeves. I buy in bulk bags and boards when I was on a lot of comics. I mean, really bulk. Right. I bought Gemini's really bulk for a reason, because the more I buy in bulk, the cheaper it becomes. So,
but then you run into storage.
I have a whole basement that's huge. So, somebody's not happy in my household, but not the point here. It's my office. So let's just say if there's a fire in my house, we know exactly where it shouldn't start. But that cardboard will just flare up like crazy. But all jokes aside, it's such an interesting situation because, again, anytime I can buy in bulk, I choose to buy in bulk.
Oh yeah,
how I save money. I buy cards in bulk too, which is crazy because it's the more I buy, the cheaper it becomes. But I think I bought the equivalent of 20 pounds worth of top loaders. So I don't need to buy top loaders for the next 5 years. But 20 pounds of top loaders ran me about $1,000. It sounds crazy, but it's a lot of top loaders. I think it's almost like 8,000 top loaders.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've got publishing costs because I pay to have all these books printed. And dealing with the printing costs and then the shipping of the books, once they're printed, the shipping costs. Thank goodness I use Comics Wellspring, and I mean, it's still not cheap, and they're only a state away. I'm in Illinois. They're in Michigan. 2 states away, I should say.
They're in Michigan. I thought they were out further west. I didn't know they were in Michigan.
They're in Michigan.
I did not know that. Learn something every day, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, order the books, and I mean, they do a great job. I mean, I'm very happy with the quality of the floppies that they do. And then, it's just that I have to pay to have them shipped. It's just, the expenses, especially shipping, is not fun. And I hate, misguessing or under guessing the cost of shipping, because you end up eating so much.
No, I get it. And let's further go into Kickstarter stuff, because obviously shipping is an issue. Printing is an issue. Distribution is impossible. Diamond didn't help anybody. And you could say I'm an independent book, but if Diamond it fucked up and Lunar's not there and everybody else, and then, Filbo distribution is trying to do something, but distribution is a fucking nightmare.
It is.
Because the reason why it fucks up for everybody who doesn't know is that if your local comic shop is having a hard time ordering comics, the likelihood that they're going to order an independent comic is, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, might be a good word to use.
It does. It's a gamble. And it's a gamble. A lot of these shops that are just, some of them are just scraping by. They're not wanting or willing to take. I mean, look at Marvel. Even Marvel, they just canceled the whole line of comics. They were supposed to go 12 issues. I think I was listening to Stephanie Phillips talk about She-Hulk being canceled after 6 issues, and it was supposed to, they had greater plans for this. So even the larger companies are, cutting,
It's
floppy
even,
sales.
I mean, I used to buy retail packages, and I'm not going to name people's names, but I can't move their books for like $5 right now. Big names. I mean, I mean, some of these people are my friends that I feel horrible, and I'm like, you sold me the book for $7.50. I can't move your book for $5 on eBay.
Yeah.
And like I'm like dying here, right? Like I'm dying because I want to unload books and I can't move shit. And we're talking, indie books, and we're talking beautiful covers, and we're talking books that are great stories and awesome artwork, and like limited 100 covers that I can't move for $5. So
Yeah.
I don't know how Marvel's going to be able to move stuff or any of this. And there's been a conceived. I mean, I'm an economics investor type of guy, and there's been a massively conceived misnotion of value on books. Massively conceived.
It reminds me of the 90s and the speculation back in the 90s when they did all of the variant covers, and the only difference that is that they're limiting numbers.
It's worse, and I'll tell you why it's worse. Because it used to be, at least in the 90s, there was no independents doing it, right? And there was nobody on Kickstarter doing it. Now, everybody and their uncle and their cousin is doing a book on Kickstarter, and they're doing it with all the same artists. I love Keith Garvey, right? It used to be Keith Garvey's covers were really exclusive, right? And so maybe there were 6 companies that were doing it. Now he works for anybody. You get on his list, it's your turn, and you get a Keith Garvey cover, right? And so what the hell? It's no longer special. It's no longer special. So the value has depreciated, and his artwork's better than it's ever been.
Yeah. The market's oversaturated.
It's debasement, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah. Well, and I'm still trying to figure out the whole Kickstarter, or crack the Kickstarter code, because there's things that I see on Kickstarter that I'm like, I don't understand how this project is, 2,000% funded and is got all this backing, and then I see something that is really good, and I'm like, they're struggling to get funded, and
So I'm curious. I have a theory, right? I'm curious what you think, right? I think that there's 2 sides to Kickstarter. There's 3 actually. So there's actually getting people the project and writing it, and the creation side of it. Then there is the marketing side of it, right? So I'm wondering if the people who are really funding their projects are just good at marketing, right? Whether that's through Facebook ads, because it's kind of like, I'm drinking a seltzer, in case anybody didn't know. It's a seltzer. It's not an alcoholic seltzer. That's Thursday night. WrestleMania stream. I'm gonna get hammered. But my point is that Canada Dry has a marketing team, right? And so I'm wondering if that's what it is, because I think people really market their shit well. And I think what it is that they'll run Facebook ads, because I know Kickstarters that have done like 100,000, and they ran so many Facebook ads. But that doesn't mean it's good. It just means you just targeted an audience and spent a bunch of money.
Maybe I'm still trying to figure it out, and maybe it's the old timey-ness in me, trying to figure out the whole Facebook ad thing, because it's like I did it once, and maybe I didn't do it correctly. I'm like asking my friends I'm like, are you seeing any of these ads that I'm putting up? And they're like, no, I haven't seen an ad yet. And I'm like, so I'm spending this money and no one is seeing the ads, or do I have to spend a ridiculous amount of money for these ads to even show up? Because I see Kickstarter ads all the time on Facebook.
So I tried Facebook ads. I want to get as much free media as I possibly can get, right? Because I want free media. So there's a book Russell Brunson writes the book. He does ClickFunnels, and there's traffic. So it's the Dream 100. Now, not to get too technical here, you could buy, stuff. You can earn. You can buy media. You could earn media. You can create media, and there's only a few ways. So you could earn it. You could buy it. You could ask for it. You could just have it, and you could have a platform that just has 100,000 YouTube followers, right? Eric July is a good example of that. But that's the trick, is that I love free media, and because I think it's actually the best, because it doesn't cost people money. You're not paying for it, and you're not bleeding out capital when you do it. That's my theory about Kickstarter, is that I think a lot of these people are just really fucking good at marketing. But I don't know if they're producing good product. I don't know. And
note to self: improve marketing skills.
Yeah, it's also the idea that how people consume content has changed, right? I don't know. A lot of people are familiar with Mr. Beast, right? Yeah. His viewership has dropped by almost 50%. So he used to get about 200 million views per video, and he's right now pulling like 80 to 90 million per video. Now, before anybody gets upset and says, oh my God, Mr. Beast is finished, 90 million views on a YouTube video is pretty damn good, right?
I'd take it.
But the point is that the content, and there was a discussion that was going on with Sean Cannell, and what he was saying is that maybe YouTube's platform has changed, maybe Facebook's platform has changed, maybe Twitter X's platform changed, Instagram has changed, and then on top of that, how people consume short content, like 60 seconds, 3 minutes. So all this stuff has changed, right? And that's the other thing too, is that 5 years ago, this was not the same, and Kickstarter was not the same as it is now.
No. So from what I hear, algorithms play a part too, and how you're ranking their algorithm, and trying to crack that nut as well. So, hey, it's been a learning experience, and it'll continue to be a learning experience.
So and the reason why I bring this up is that because the issue on Kickstarter is getting attention, because I've seen projects that are brilliant, right? And I've seen, I'm a wrestling guy, I'm an indie wrestling guy. I'm like, how the fuck is this person not discovered, right? Every once in a while, somebody who's really good. Megan Bain is a really good example. Megan Bain was discovered. But there's people in WWE who were discovered, and are great. Carmelo Hayes was Christian Casanova on the Indies. Unbelievable talent, and he was discovered by WWE. But if you're really good, you'll be discovered. But there's plenty of people on the Indies who are really good, and they're never going to be discovered.
Yeah.
Or discovery is complicated, right? And so, it's so complicated. And then there's a wrestler, I think her name is Scubus, and she talked about how she's like a social media person in her profession or shoot job, and it gives her so much data. How to perform in the ring, because she can see the reaction and she documents it, and it changes the way she wrestles, which is insane, amazing. But the point I'm making is that it's so complicated getting attention, figuring out attention, understanding it, and I'm just curious. I think you answered it. I think, but it's such an interesting topic, because I don't know anymore if you just need to have you need to be a good artist. You need to have a good product, but I don't even know if that's the most important skill anymore on Kickstarter.
Well, and that's the thing, is that I see these things are really good products, and they look, to the fold, to the nines. It looks gorgeous, and they're nowhere near hitting, even $1,000, backing. And then there's another one, and not naming anyone specifically, but the art quality does not look professional. It doesn't look like it's put together very well.
I'll name books. I got no problem naming books. Blackpink or Pink Black or whatever that book was that did 90,000. It doesn't look like a bad book. It looks like an average book. Not to put them on shame. I read it. It's a fun average book. It's not a $90,000 campaign. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm a free market guy when I say that, but it's not a $90,000 campaign. How it became a $90,000 campaign, sorry to cut you off, is a lot of ads were run.
Yeah, Yeah, well, it's got to be. But I think also what's hurting Kickstarter is then you have Kickstarter and Indiegogo. You have professionals, known professionals in the industry, big names, where they run campaigns. They take, $300,000 and never follow through with the product, or they take 30,000 and never follow through with the product. You see those as well, and then it puts a bad taste in backers' mouths, so where they don't want to take a chance.
I have a friend. I have a friend, and if you've been in the Dungeons and Dragons community, role playing games, so I've known Santine Phoenix for a while, and her story is well documented. They raised like $325,000 for her book. Something happened with her husband. It was a nasty ending. A lot of shit happened. I know a lot more than I want to. I've known Santine for almost like 10 years. But now the project is finally getting back on track. But like we're talking like 3-4 years ago, right? But like that shit happens in life, right? And I understand. But it's $325K. Shit doesn't happen for $325K. I'm sorry.
No. Well, and these artists are running other campaigns or wanting more crowdfunding for a different project. And they haven't fulfilled their last one. I mean, it blows my mind. And all I can think of is that what they're doing is damaging the true independent creators, those that are truly trying to use the platform to build something new. And they've left such a bad taste in backers' mouths that they don't want to back something.
I've been saying this for a long time. I want consumer protection on Kickstarter because there is none. There is none. And I want to get a bill passed in Congress for consumer protection on Kickstarter. I think it is long overdue. I really think it is, right? Because here's the problem. Is that you have 6 months on a credit card to file a dispute. Once 6 months and 1 day comes, a credit card can accept or not accept your dispute. Yeah. It's a real issue, right? So in theory, somebody can go. I'm not saying you should do this. This would be terrible, and it's probably fraud. I don't want to give anybody an idea, but in theory, what you can do is that you can go run a massive campaign, figure out how to raise like $6 million on Kickstarter, have it set for 8 months, and then run away with the money and disappear to a country, cash all the money out, never produce anything, make it look like you're producing something, and then live with $6 million or $4.5 million, whatever Kickstarter leaves you with, and then just disappear. You could do that theoretically, and there would be no consequence for it. None. Which is insane. I mean, you can legitimately,
and this is what kind of those big name artists have done. And what I love is that they'll block people that will ask them, "Where's our? It's been 5 years. It's been 10 years. Where's this book?"
I mean, there's a bunch of people who have done it. Ethan Schreiber, EBS has done it. Rob Liefeld has done it.
He's one that I've been. He blocks people before, as soon as they mention it.
I mean, I could tell you somebody who I don't think does it. Brian Polito, I don't think does it.
No,
Brian Polito delivers very well.
Tucci doesn't do it.
Who? Billy Tucci?
Billy Tucci doesn't.
That guy. Oh, I love She. I'm sorry, I love She. He's on my list for an interview. Because I think it'd be a great interview because I love everything Billy Tucci has done.
He's a great guy. I love talking to Billy. He's never done that, and I would never. I put a long enough deadline to make sure that I can get all the sketches done or sketch covers done, any kind of original art that people buy on a reward, or if there's any printing issues. But I've always put in my rewards. My rewards have always shipped early.
I don't care if something takes longer, right? There was something that took a little longer, and I was like, okay, cool. You're 3 months late. Who cares? You at least let me know what
they communicated. They updated you.
I wasn't happy, and I was disappointed, right? Because they were 3 months late, and I said, hey, look, can we get an update here? But if I come and say, can we get an update? That's not an attack by any stretch of the imagination. That is just saying, look, I would like an update where the hell the book is.
Because I told me it was going to be at this date, We're well past that date. I'm just curious where we're at. That's not an insulting question. That's you asking, and that creator should have communicated, hey, X, Y, and Z happened. There's been this delay, this. I expect it to take this much longer. I mean, that's just communicating and letting the people that helped you back and create your stuff, letting them know, letting them in on the inner workings, how the sausage is being made. Sometimes it's ugly. And sometimes it's like, okay, you know what? Something happened and we shit the bed. We need to clean the bed real quick and we'll right the ship. Stuff does happen, but let people know.
I'm going to ask you a question in which that, so I don't have, when I back somebody's Kickstarter, this is not Start Engine. This is not WeFund. I don't have equity stake in this, right? This is not a equity stake position by any stretch of the imagination. So, I don't have equity in your book, but I am I should be entitled to your book at the very least. Whether that's enforceable or not is up for a discussion and a debate. But the way I view it is that I helped you make your thing work. And so I should be entitled to at least be owed an explanation and a product to some degree.
You're preaching to the choir. And there's times, and for example, Icelander issue 1, there was a printing error. Because I offer an executive for the floppies, there's an executive producer tier where you get a thank you in the book. Well, that page somehow got dropped and an ad was put in its place. Simple mistake. The first thing I did once I got the books, I noticed it. I was like, oh shit. I put up an update. I was like, unfortunately, this happened. I'm going to fix it in the second issue, and I'll make sure that the executive page is in there and everybody will be credited from the first issue in the second issue. And people were fine with that because I was upfront with them. I told them, this is what happened. I'm sorry it happened. I didn't catch it until the books were in my hand. But this is what I can do to right the ship and make it right. And so many people nowadays in life, they won't make it right, or it's okay to make a mistake, but make it right.
I'll give you an example, right? I'm a card collector, and this Topps thing for a base rock was taking way too long. It took almost a year. So I sit the Topps. I'm getting upset here because I got clients who bought this stuff and they're yelling at me, what can you do for me? So they gave me a $25 credit on Topps now, right? And they were like, we're sorry. We're just going to give you a $25 credit. We're sorry. Great. I said, guys, I just want to know where it is. We're looking at almost 9 to 10 months here, way past the due date. I'm dying here, and I got a client yelling at me on the phone on my end, and they're like, we're sorry, right? And what happened as a result is that they just said, we're going to make sure you're taken care of, right? And so after a while, though, they wound up giving me 3 $25 credits because they were really late.
Yeah.
Really late. It should take 16 weeks, and it took almost 10 months. That's a mess up for the ages. But this stuff takes time, right? Because you're getting a base and you got to authenticate the base, and Major League Baseball is slow as hell because it's just the way they are. But the point that Topps understood that they had to fix the problem, and they couldn't make the process go faster, so they wound up giving me, $75 of credit, which wound up me spending more money. But it's not a big deal to say I'm sorry. That's saying you're sorry goes a long way. Saying you goes a long way because I'm less angry, less likely to be angry if somebody says, I'm sorry that I fucked up and this is taking 2 more months.
When it's taking accountability. And so many people don't take accountability today, where you can just say, hey, you know what? This happened. And sometimes it's in your control and you mess up. Sometimes it's out of your control. And it just, the wheels come off the cart. But if you're upfront and you say, hey, I'm sorry, this is what happened. this is what I'm going to do to rectify it and just make it right. So many people just don't want to make it right. It's disheartening sometimes.
It's crazy, just crazy. But obviously there's a lot of other stuff. Obviously we tackled all the Kickstarter issues because I'm always curious what somebody thinks on that front, because I find this stuff to be fascinating, right? And again, I'm a business guy, and the economy is just absolutely wonderful. It's just absolutely wonderful, the economy right now, which I'm sure helps all of us, right? I'm sure it helps all of us, right?
Yeah.
But I digress. I digress on that. But I also want to touch upon something else where, obviously on Kickstarter, I mean, how do you figure out your reward prices? Because there's a sweet spot. This stuff is complicated, I think, sometimes to figure out the correct pricing for all this stuff. And I don't know how you figure out, the sweet spot in that regard.
Sometimes I'm still figuring out the sweet spot. There were like, if I'm doing a floppy, I'll offer the digital version for like $5-6, and then I will do the book retails for $8, just for what it cost me for printing and for paying other people. I charge $8 for the floppies. I'll offer the floppy for $8 with shipping, and then I offer like a $15 tier or $12 or $15 tier where you get the digital and the hard copy. So, and then I do add-ons. So, and then a lot of times I'll do different variant covers. So I'll have variant covers, and they're typically a lower print run, so those cover prices are a little bit higher. Or if I get a guest artist, like I've had Jeff Johnson from Wonder Man fame, he's done a couple covers. Those are usually a lower print run, and those are usually about a $20 book. So I try to offer different tiers and different rewards that give different price points, because not everybody's gonna have deep pockets, and I would rather get the book in their hands. Hey, $5, $6 for the digital, and you get the digital copy. And it's just getting a book in your hands.
I find it interesting because I have a variety of products in my eBay store. I have cards from $3 all the way up to $1,500 for a reason, because the person buying a $1,500 card is not the same buyer who's buying a $3 card.
You've got so many different buyers, and that's why I offer so many different covers at times, because I'm trying to appeal to everybody. It's
let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
Because what I want to take the position is that I want to get a buyer into my system, right? So if I get a buyer into my system for $7, they get a better deal because it's cheaper for them to buy from me with free shipping. I mean, I just bought WNBA draft night cards, right? I charge $8, right? The card for one of them is $10 on Panini, but I buy in bulk, so I get a discount. And shipping is $3 on Panini, so it'll cost them $13, and they'll buy from me for $8.50, right? So I'm making good money. They're saving money. They have to wait an extra 2 days versus buying it directly from Panini. So for 2 extra days of your wait time, you are saving yourself $5, give or take, right? Most people understand that, but but what I want to do is then I buy a lot of cards in that. So I have clients who come and repeat, because they got into my system. So I had a client who legitly bought like $700 worth of cards. And what was great is the person saved me like $100 in shipping, because I put them all in the same box. Yeah. It was great. So the shipping was $15, but it would have been more expensive individually
than if combined shipping.
So because it didn't cost me anything one way or the other, right? Because it was free shipping, right?
Yeah.
Completely. So it was essentially the same as shipping 15 packages but instead it was legitly like 4 pounds of cards.
Yeah.
But but I wanted that buyer into my system, right? Because that
Mhm.
buyer didn't start with buying $700 worth of cards. They started with buying like 3 for 20
Yeah.
bucks.
And to go off of your eBay, I sell stuff on eBay too. The one thing I don't sell, and I'm going to be changing that, are my books. And what really switched me over to that was I happened to Google on eBay, or not Google on eBay. I searched on eBay
You
my Juice
eBay.
Man book. I eBayed it, yeah. And I looked up my
Sorry.
I looked up my collected Juice Man Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I see them being sold for $35 a book. I'm like, that's above cover price. I mean, I can order them from the publisher at a slight discount. I could sign them for $35 and you could have a signed copy. They're just buying a regular copy, $35, and then shipping on top of that. So
You could even get more interesting, right? So in theory, let's say you have an international buyer and they can't buy on Kickstarter because of the tariffs.
mhm,
All of a sudden, you can say go through eBay, right? Because you'll ship it to Kentucky and they'll do the international shipping for you.
yeah, yeah,
Because I ship all over the world, right? And that's the thing, is that I don't want to ship. I ship the card to the United Arab Emirates.
yeah,
Super cool, right?
yeah,
Sounds weird when you say it that way, but to me, it's a feather in my cap, right? Because I've
yeah,
shipped every continent except Africa and Antarctica for good reasons. Because nobody's on Antarctica, but not the point here. I've shipped to every continent, right? I've shipped to
yeah.
Japan, I've shipped to China, I shipped all over, except I haven't shipped to Africa yet, which I would love to. It'd be such a cool thing, because then I'm on all the populated continents. But it's fun because I don't want to ship a card to the United Arab Emirates in the post office and then them looking at me funny and having to figure out the shipping. That seems horrible. It seems hell, right? But it's a
Yes.
workaround. It's a massive workaround because eBay is a massive multinational corporation that knows how to do the international shipping game well enough for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because I know having, and I always thought, because my publisher Marcosi is UK publisher, I'm like, okay, well they're taking the market with all the Amazon, obviously I get percent of whatever is sold.
You get a royalty.
Yeah, but I get everything, minus what I buy the book for. Any, markup on it is mine. Then I don't have to split it with the publisher. So maybe I might be looking into that international shipping for eBay.
The buyer pays it. It's on the buyer, and you just have to pay the shipping to Kentucky. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
I'll have to look into that because I'll be starting to put some of these, because I've had people contact me. Oh, will you ship here? Will you ship there? Well, if I've got it on eBay and it's international shipping through their program, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, it's
I mean,
done.
they charge, I think, like a 1% international fee, but that's nothing.
No.
That's nothing. That's nothing for them to handle a problem. And
And
that's my
once it makes it to Kentucky or wherever their international place is, it's out of your hands. It's not your problem anymore.
it's insured. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's handled by all of that. It's insured. It's great. And I mean, I'm reasonable with international shipping because I know if it's going to Australia and it's like going to be like $30 to ship it, I'll take off like $10 on a card because I know the person is getting shellacked on the shipping, right? But that's just logic, right? Because I want to make a sale.
Yeah. Well, and I do the same thing. I sell concert posters that I've created on eBay. And it's I'll knock $15. I'll knock $15 off because now the postal service wants to charge you 15 and basically $12 for anything that's a cylinder tube. So poster tubes are a $4 upcharge on top of the $8 that they're charging, $7 or $8 for priority.
I like concert posters. I like posters in general. I'm buying an expensive one right now. It's $400. But it's not a concert poster. It's from one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Kevin Tong's Battle Royale poster.
Oh,
So it's in the style of I think Scott Pilgrim of
okay.
Battle Royale by Kevin Tong, and it was up in Alimony, the Alimony Draft House.
Hmm.
It's their poster, and there's 400 of them, or like 350 of them in the world, and I'm eyeing it. And
Nice.
depending on how I do on the NBA playoffs and finals, we're already off to a good start.
There
Charlotte
you
did
go.
Miami in overtime, with like 4 seconds left. So thank God we're off to a good start. I need my Spurs to do some good stuff too, and my Knicks to do some good stuff too. But and then I'm gonna see how the Dodgers are doing against the Mets because that I think it's 1-1. But I don't want to jinx myself on those. I'm very thrilled about Charlotte. They scared the shit out of me in the middle of this interview. So they went to overtime. They were down by 3. They went to overtime, and not at the point here. But I do enjoy concert posters because I had Justin Hampton on, and that was a lot of. He's a fascinating individual. Fascinating. There's a reason why you don't put posters anymore on those poles in Seattle.
No.
They light up pretty quickly.
Yes, they do.
But I digress. I digress right there. But I mean, we spoke about it, but I figured I would ask again anyway. This question is that how do you feel about the comic market? Because you've been in it for a while now. I mean, I'm 33. I've been heavily into this since I was 18. And I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen Bad Girl Art be awesome and be underground. I've seen it rise up. I've seen it crash. I've seen rebooting superheroes. I've seen, for lack of a better word, trends. I mean, I'll say this. I think Absolute Batman is a trend. I think it's great. I love Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder follows me on Twitter. He, oddly enough, I don't know why. There's no good reason for anybody to follow me on Twitter anymore, at the very least. But nothing productive is on my Twitter account. I'm also suspended on Twitter at the moment, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Hey! I didn't get suspended for political reasons or for anything bad. I got suspended because I criticized Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, rather aggressively, which I thought I was in the right. If you've seen the way the Mets have played lately, I believe I was in the right.
You thought you were justified.
A lot of people also agree that I thought I was justified, right?
Hey.
So I in my defense too, I criticized the Yankees too. So I mean, I call it like I see it, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
my tweets are very creative. Let's just leave it at that. Not political. Very creative tweets. Maybe I went a little too far, but I'm working on getting my account back. I'm gonna have to keep bothering them until they give it back to me. And I said to them on Twitter, I said, I thought I was justified. Have you seen the way the Mets played? Like that was my appeal to Twitter, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. But I'm gonna work on it. But not the point here. I'm curious where you see Comic Zone, because I've seen in the last 12, 15 years a lot of shit, and you probably seen more than I have. I didn't live through the 90s. The closest thing I got through the 90s was Cyberforce with Dave Finch.
Okay. Well, the market, I think, is moving more towards an indie market, at least from what I'm seeing. You've got more people self-publishing and creating their own IPs. And I think that, like the big two, Marvel and DC, they're just recycling. They're recycling characters, they're recycling stories to a point. They're either making, there was a point where they stopped creating new characters, and I think that happened after Image broke off, and they left because Rob Liefeld but he's credited with creating or co-creating Deadpool, Gambit. all these Cable, all these characters, you don't hear of very many characters being created after that. You ended up with Ladypool, or you end up with how many different types of Hulks, or how many different types of Spider-Man.
Let me ask you. What was the last major Marvel character that was created?
That's a great question. One that everybody would probably come to their head would be Deadpool, because that's the last movie that they've.
I think the last major Marvel character that was created that has any semblance of saving Marvel is Miles Morales.
But again, it's.
I think it's
Spider-Man. It's a different universe Spider-Man. My point is it's not a new. It's still a Spider-Man. Yes, it's Miles Morales.
I make an argument, right, in which I agree that it's a spin-off and it's a form of, I guess, a spin-off and semi-original, semi-new. But the reason why I say I think it's also the exception to a degree is because it does stand on its own. It's really popular, and they've done a really good job with it, right? And I think they've separated it. But I agree with like Ladypool. Not much of a separation, right?
No, I would agree with you with Miles Morales. They've taken a little bit more initiative to separate the two, but it still falls under the Spider-Verse and the different. When was a new creation like a Gambit or a Cable or a Deadpool? I mean, most
you don't
of
like
the
Spider-Pig
characters
does not mean that you get to dismiss Spider-Pig. Spider-Pig is great. Yeah, I'm sorry. You walked into it a little bit.
Hey, Peter Porker.
Exactly. Again, I don't even know what has been, because the thing that DC has created in the last 20 years that's highly original is absolute Batman. Highly original, because what they've done is that they've stripped Batman of his powers and his savagery, essentially, and it's almost going back to Nightfall. In many ways, absolute Batman is coming out of Nightfall.
Yeah.
Because in Nightfall, Batman becomes a savage monster after he gets his ass kicked by Bane. And I'm a big Chuck Dixon fan. I love Graham. Was it Graham Norton that the Nightfall, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Denny O'Neil was on that book.
Denny O'Neil, yep.
Interviewed Denny. Super cool in that regard. Yeah, a while ago, one of my first interviews, probably like almost like maybe 15 years ago. I interviewed Denny. But the point that I'm making is that absolute Batman is derived out of Nightfall, but nobody knows that.
Yeah.
What's even crazier is that Astro City is derived out of Super Folks, which is one of Grant Morrison's favorite books of all time.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with you that like the most original thing in the last probably 20 years is Absolute Batman. Actually, that's not true. Court of the Owls was pretty original too, to be honest.
New characters. That was, and you had Greg Capullo drawing it, so you couldn't go wrong with that.
And Scott Snyder is an unbelievable writer. He's an unbelievable
writer. But I think that's where I'm saying is that I think it's. I mean, look at what is it, Dork or whatever, that just from Image. There's so many independent comics that are really starting to take the forefront.
Look at Kanto from David Boer and Drew Zucker. Kanto that came out in like 2019. Brilliant, right? I mean that book. Oh my God, that book's an expensive book. I have one. It's an expensive book. But I mean, but that's also the thing too. What do we have, like White Sky from Image?
Yeah.
But I mean, let me ask you this, because I have an opinion on Dork and White Sky. I think it's overhyped. I think there's massive overhype. I think there's fear of missing out, and I think that.
Oh, I think FOMO is a big thing. I think FOMO is a total big thing with these books, because that's where I fear that it's going back towards the 90s kind of speculation market. that it's going to be an investment. And that's what we were sold on in the 90s before the crash was, these books are an investment. And the problem with that is that the reason why Golden and Silver Age and Bronze Age comics were considered an investment was because a lot of them were destroyed. They were never meant to be a collectible. They were thrown out by mom, dad, great Gam Gam, Aunt Petunia with the bunions on her feet that you rub for a nickel so that you could buy the things. They were thrown out. They were disposed. They were disposable. So there wasn't a lot of them out there, and there wasn't a lot of them out there in a higher grade. Now, it was sold in the 90s. So invest in comics. It's the new stock market. And I feel like that pendulum is swinging back with, the overhyping of some of these books and the fear of missing out.
There's a reason why I'm wanting out of comics, right? Because I think there's so much overhyping, and I think that you gotta really have an idea of what you're doing. And I love numbered baseball cards, wrestling cards. I love anything that's a parallel numbered card. Mm-hmm. But even that is overhyped to some degree as well. Anything you could have that's like a 1 of 5, is useful. But like when you have numbered comic books, it's a problem. I mean, and look, I'm a participation of that. And
I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I've sold limited number sketch, covers that were just the pen and ink where they were signed and numbered to 50. There was only 50 made. I signed them and hand numbered them to 50, and that was it.
I've done stuff like this where I bought this book. I bought all 15 of them. So that I've done that, and I've done it a lot, right? So I have a Mount Olympus stuff. I mean, I have a few of those where I have all 15 of the covers because I can't compete against somebody else unless I have all of them.
Yeah.
And there's no limitation that can stop me from doing it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, $450, you buy all 15, I could say whatever price I want.
Yeah. You can control the market because you have the market. You own the market.
And as a result, there's a Starfire book that Mount Olympus did, and I was asking 90 for it. And I said, person, like, I'm not, I was asking 120 hour for the person, like 95. And I said, I have all 15. So you either want or you don't. I'm not trying to beat you up, but like you either want it or you don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like it has nothing to do with anything to be mean. It's just a matter of but like that's what I think it's gonna come down to. Ultimately, I have a buyer who wants to he's hunting down all 25 of a card. And I have 5 of the cards he wants on eBay. And I'm like, I know you want all of these. You told me you want all of them. I'm asking 65 because a piece. And he's not happy but I said, you want all of them and you want to control the market. And I don't blame you. I'm willing to sell you everything, but I'm not leaving money on the table.
No, and nor should you. It's supply and demand. You've got the supply and he's demanding that he wants your supply. So you can set the price.
So the buyer already has about 7 of the card out of the 25. And he wants the whole market. And I said, dude, I want you to have a little market if you want it. But
I'm not going to give you it.
I'll sell it to him. I'll give him what he wants.
But you're not going to give it to him for little to nothing. You're going to give it to him for fair market value or what you feel fair market value is.
It's also Angel Reese. And so like it's an Angel Reese rookie card. It's an expensive one at that too.
Oh, her Me Bound rookie card?
Her what?
Me Bound?
It's a draft night one. This is the card. It's a limited 25 draft rookie card of hers. Draft night rookie card. So like, it's no bullshit at this point. Last night I bought a Lauren Betts. I bought 3 Lauren Betts limited 30 rookie cards. Oh my god, sold that card in 20 minutes or less. Which is great because they were 40 a piece. So I sold 1 and paid for all 3. And I have no money, so I was very happy about that. But like again, I think there's overhype, and I think a lot of these books are going to end up in dollar bins. I don't expect Dork and I don't expect White Sky to make it because I don't know how you feel, but I'm sure you know it, but getting a television show off of your comic book is so fucking hard.
Oh, I know. But I would love it, but you know what? I'll just continue to do what I do, and hopefully, throw enough shit at the wall that something sticks.
That's how I feel. I gotta know. This is my new solution, right? I reach out to people. I gotta know. I say thank you for your time, and then I move on. Because and I didn't like this person's agent who was like kind of chastising me. I don't really care if she sees this at all either. And my viewpoint is the following: saying you got to do what's right for your client. But she's like, when you get more views, come back and reach out to me. I'm like, not really. And I'll tell you why. Because the second I get the views you want, I'm no longer here. Why would I come back? Like, you didn't believe.
Yeah.
You didn't believe. I'm sorry. I expect full loyalty. I expect full loyalty, and there's been plenty of people who have given me full loyalty when I had no right to do anything, and they're in high places, and they're happy to come back on my show.
I have been very blessed with the people, especially the fans of Savage Dragon who've migrated over, and not away from Erik Larsen stuff, but have appreciated the work that I've done on Savage Dragon, and appreciate what I'm doing with Juice Man and Icelander and Plasma. And I do my damnedest not to take advantage of that, and to let them know as often as I can. I appreciate you. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this, because there would be no market for it.
So let me ask you this, and I'm curious, is that I think obviously in comics and in anything with money, there's a finite amount of money that everybody has to spend every month, every year, whatever it is. So nobody can buy everything for a few reasons. First off, people have limited money, and I don't care if you're making 60,000 or 120,000 or $1 million. There's only so much shit you can buy. For a few reasons. A, you only have so much money, and B, where the fuck are you gonna put it if you bought everything?
This is very true.
So I don't think so naturally, just on this show, somebody who's watching this show or watches it live or watches it on a replay, they're choosing to watch this over something else. I am taking somebody away from doing something else or listening to something else, but I'm not actively saying you can't do the other thing too. So I think for Kickstarters, I don't think you're actively taking away things from Savage Dragon, but if somebody wants your Kickstarter, somebody else's Kickstarter, and they can only pick 2 out of the 4, they're going to pick the 2 out of the 4. It's not that you're actively taking away from somebody, right?
No.
But I don't know. I don't know how to describe it any other way than that.
Well,
right?
There's choice. There's choices out there. And if you've been on Kickstarter, there's a shit ton of choices. I'm just blessed that I've been successful enough with, my campaigns, knock on wood. This one is not there yet, but all of my campaigns have been successful.
The reason why I bring this up, though, is that, I don't know how you feel, but I gravitate towards certain creators, certain ideas, certain concepts. So like wrestlers, right? I'm going to gravitate towards a certain wrestler on card collecting, right? And it's just the way it is, right? So nothing against, I'm trying to think of, I'm a Liv Morgan fan. I love Rhea Ripley, love Stephanie Beaucaire, big Seth Rollins fan, big John Cena fan. Could care less about Roman Reigns. Okay? So nothing against it, but so if I'm at a card show and there's a Rhea Ripley, a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, and a Sami Zayn all on the table, and they're all the same price, I'm probably picking up the Rhea Ripley, right? But that's a choice. It's not that I think Roman Reigns is shitty. It's just I'm making a choice, but obviously Rhea Ripley's taking me away from Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
And I'm not delusional. I know I'm not taking anybody away from Savage Dragon. If anybody is a fan of Savage Dragon, my book is, superhero, just like, similar to Savage Dragon in that similar vein. So, and people are familiar with my work from Savage Dragon. So that's where I've been blessed by having that collaborative relationship with Eric, where he's had me do numerous backups, because that's given me exposure to an audience that I wouldn't have had exposure to before.
Fair enough, fair enough. And then obviously, there's a lot of other stuff that you've done. You do sketch cards, you do other artwork.
Like I said, I've been working professionally since '95. It was actually Juice Man that got me doing concept designs for Hasbro back in the early mid 90s. I was at Motor City Comic Con, and I had my first incarnation of Juice Man, and I was selling it. And an art director from Hasbro, Dion Knuckles, came by and hired me to do concept designs on the movie Small Soldiers and Small Soldiers 2. So it was kind of this character has brought me opportunities that I wouldn't have had before. Being able to do concept design for Hasbro toys, I would love to have a toy line of these guys.
Such an interesting company. It's such an interesting company. I think, doesn't Hasbro own Wizard?
They do now. WotC, they own Wizards of the Coast. Well, Wizards of the Coast bought TSR. I used to drive up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, to meet with the art directors when I was doing Dungeons and Dragons work.
I mean, Hasbro owns everything. Don't they own G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Transformers? They own everything, right?
Yeah, basically.
I love Hasbro. They have a good dividend too, which is great. They're a publicly traded company, and they're great. But not the point here. That's the reason why I know that is that I like buying companies that are big multi corporations that own everything. So I own a little piece of My Little Pony, so I'm very happy about that. That's why we have My Little Pony Magic the Gathering cards, everybody. I wish I was behind that concept, because if I was, I'd be tuning that all over. That'd be great, man. Andrew Davis was responsible for My Little Pony at Hasbro. You're welcome, everybody. But I can't say that. At least I can't say that yet.
Well, Larry Hama was responsible for G.I. Joe at or the incarnation I grew up with at
Larry
Hasbro.
Hama hates my best friend.
Oh, really?
Because they lived in the same building.
Oh.
So no. So I don't know if he hates me, but I think my best friend's annoying. They lived in the same building in New York City.
Okay.
So I know where Larry Hama lives. I know the exact address, and I also know how much Larry Hama's apartment is worth. And I'm pretty sure he did not pay what it's worth. He got it way cheaper than that. But not the point. Not the point. But basically, but I'm sure Larry Hama thinks my best friend's like an annoying individual, but I love my best friend. So there you go.
Hey, that's what counts, right?
But yeah, but yes, G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle.
Now you know. I grew up on G.I. Joe. I loved it. I still got a box full of still have all my original action figures. So,
well, I could read G.I. Joe any day of the week. I just can't afford that Kickstarter with Skybound. It's just
I thought about it because I was very fortunate enough to work early on. When I got out of college, I worked as Ron Wagner's assistant in his studio, and I didn't know at first who Ron Wagner was, and I took a class with him at this art store on panel-to-panel storytelling back in 1995, and right after I graduated, and it was a great experience. Learned a lot, and he was then working on Daredevil, and then I realized that, oh my God, this is Ron Wagner. I loved his G.I. Joe run. As when he was doing art on G.I. Joe. But then I was his assistant when he was doing end of his run on Daredevil and Book of Fate for DC. when he and Keith Giffen did Book of Fate, which was cool.
Keith Giffen. Did Keith Giffen invent Rocket Raccoon?
That I don't know.
Unless I'm thinking of somebody else.
I think you're thinking of somebody else. Keith Giffen, I believe, he's the creator of Lobo.
So did he just pass away?
Yeah, within the last year or two.
I think he did do Rocket Raccoon or Groot. He might have done one or the other.
It wasn't Groot because Groot was created back in Tales of Suspense way back when.
This is a good question. We gotta look this up now because now I'm so curious because I'm so confused. Right? I'm looking it up because I had a Keith Giffen signed comic. No, not the football player. That definitely would be interesting if a football player created Rocket Raccoon. That'd be impressive. That'd be so fascinating. Sorry, I gotta look this up because it's gonna like bother my OC, my freaking just mind. As soon as I figure out how to use my iPhone again. So yeah, I'm looking this up right now. Yeah. So Keith Giffen. I think I'm looking it up right now, right? So what did he do? Wow, I don't even know. This is so bad. I can't even read. Wow, I'm so bad at this. This is not my day. But anyway, yeah. But I'm looking it up. But so because you do a bunch of sketch stuff also, and you do all that stuff, which is crazy. I mean, you've been in this industry forever, pretty much.
I don't know about forever, but I am old. Like I said, since '95, I probably started doing comics. I started doing covers for Caliber Comics around 97, 98. I did Kilroy cover, a couple covers for Caliber Comics, which they never paid me for. But
you did create it. Yeah. He's responsible.
Oh, for Rocket Raccoon?
Him and Bill Mantino.
Well,
I thought so. I was like, you know what? I think so because I saw the book right when he passed that Campbell and him signed, graded.
Nice.
For a good amount of money. Because it was the right time to sell the book. It was a good time to sell the book too, and it just flew off the shelf in my store. But not the point here. But yeah, no. But that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't do anything. Like, I'm so boring. All I've done in my life is I just ask people for interviews, and like 1,300 of these later, I'm still going, and I have no idea how I got here.
Hey, one interview at a time, right?
No idea how I got here. No idea what I'm doing. No idea. I get a lot of no's, but you get a lot of yeses too. And then you're like, fuck, I didn't think this person was going to say yes. How the fuck do I do this now? And then I had Chris Daniels on, who's the head in talent relations of AEW on my show. Yeah. I had Eddie Kingston, old school wrestler. I was supposed to do King Kong Bundy. That unfortunately passed away. And then half the time I've had all these people that were supposed to come on my show and then they get signed to WWE. I'm like, fuck. And then they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't worry about it. I get it. I'm the first person to get it. I'm not gonna it's not personal, right? Like if you see a sign saying, I wish I interviewed you up in the stands, you should probably come up to the stands and say hi to me. So this is but it's so fascinating. So obviously we've been speaking for a while. I don't know what else because there's a lot of stuff and you've done everything. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people back the campaign, check out your social media, hit you up for commissions, hit you up for cover work, hit you up for other things. I don't know what else you do, sketch cards, obviously.
All the above. Right now we've got the Icelander and Plasma collected campaign going. I think there's come tomorrow morning, there'll be 21 days left. We're 67%, I think, funded. We're 60, something like that, 67% to our goal. In the next few months after what's coming after the Icelander and Plasma Kickstarter, I'll be launching the next wave of Juice Man issues, starting with issue 11, and it'll take place right after the happenings of volume 2. So check out our Kickstarter, and if you're so inclined, back it, share it, put it out onto the interweb, and I can't do it without you guys. So I truly appreciate those that help me make these funny books.
And then obviously, I couldn't have said that any better on promotion, but obviously it's my show, so I will promote myself. My Twitter has changed, as I mentioned before. I am currently suspended on Twitter. I thought I was justified in my reasoning, so I decided to make my new Twitter account. His name is King9, because that is how I perceive myself, and that is a different story for a different day on how I came up with that. But my pronouns are His Highness, His Kingship. That on my Twitter account, so you can refer to me that way. But yes, his name is King9. Is my new Twitter, and I tweet a lot about sports, and I'm very creative, and I'm trying not to get kicked off of that one. Trying.
We'll see how that goes.
It's very frustrating with the Mets and the Yankees. It's very frustrating. And Saturday is not going to be a fun day either with the Knicks, but WrestleMania will be fun. See, I'm not going to tweet about
WrestleMania is always fun.
It's going to be great. Oh, it's going to be great. I'm also going to be really hammered, so probably nobody should give me a laptop. One
last thing, if anybody wants to follow me on social media, just you can on the Google machine, Google Scott James Art, and all of my social media will pop up.
But the rest of my social media, you should go follow them, everybody. But the rest of my social media, obviously, is as soon as I get
King9.
His name is King9, is his Twitter. But I do post a lot on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. I got 2,100 videos up on YouTube, almost 1,300 interviews, a lot of micro content, a lot of lives. I am having Holly G on Friday. She just did that Archie book that's sick, Archie 85.
Oh, nice.
New Galaxy, Super Mario Bros. Super cool. That just came in today that we're doing. A little nervous. Don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with that one.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
I'm sure I'll figure it out too. Little nervous though, because legitimately it came in like 6 hours ago, which is crazy. I just shot a message. I said, "What the fuck?" Because you got to swim for the fences, right?
Always.
But YouTube is Pop Anime Comics, so please subscribe. It's free. And it's always going to be free. I'm never going to cover any interviews or make them private or make them a membership. That's not what we do. It is meant to be enjoyed, watched, shared out, and there's a lot of micro content on there. And the other thing I do is I run a card collecting YouTube channel called Big Boy Card Collecting. And so I break cards open. I do a lot of cool stuff. I got a Fantastic Four Tops Finest set. I got some WWE sets. I got some Disney Neon coming in a few days, which is going to be super fun. That's always a fun one to break open. Have no idea what's in there. But yeah, and then I talk a lot about card education and other stuff. So that's Big Boy Card Collecting on YouTube. And then the other thing is that Instagram's a lot of fun with that too. That's also Big Boy Card Collecting. And I post a lot of cool stuff up there. So if you're into the space and cards and you really want to be informed, I post a lot of stuff coming out, when it's coming out, what to buy, what not to buy, and usually I'm about a week ahead. So if something's dropping on like a Monday, next Monday, I have a post so you can be informed when it's going to drop, what time it's going to be dropped, and the availability and what to be on the lookout for it. So, that's something to keep in the back of everybody's head. And then the final thing I do is I have an eBay store. Look for comics and collectibles. Come shop us on eBay. And I teased this a little bit before, but I carry books like this. I have all 15 of these. They're hollow foil, limited 15s. I have these cards right here, which are leaf metal anime cards of John Cena. I think there's only like 201 of them that were made. So I got about, I think, like 15 of them left in my eBay store. I had this one right here, Angel Reese, limited 25 WNBA draft. I got a Lauren Betts card that's limited to 30. That was sold out pretty quickly. I got one of those left. And then I carry stuff like this, which is a 1-on-1. And sometimes I post stuff like this up on my eBay store, or this in my eBay store, or stuff like this, or stuff like this, or some other cool stuff in that regard. So you name it, I post it up. But I got everything from like $3 cards all the way up to 1,500. So you name it, I got it. And I've been saying it for a long time that, first off, go to my eBay store if you're looking for comics and cards. Search through it. If you find what you're looking for, feel free to make me an offer, buy it, all that fun stuff. And if you don't see what you're looking for, shoot me a message, because I may have it. It just might not be listed. And if I have it, I'm happy to list it for you. Work out a deal, get you what you want. But if I don't have it, I know people who probably do, and I'm always happy to direct you to the right person, because I understand how difficult it is to get cards and find them, because it is tough out there. Same thing with comics, by the way. It is tough to get stuff like that. So that's the thing right there, and that's all my stuff and everything I got going on. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Just check out Icelander and Plasma, and keep an eye out for Juice Man issue 11.
And
thank you again for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Anytime. And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.